Okay, first song.
If someone asked you to name a concert film, what would be the first thing to come to mind?
Surround yourself with Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus in the concert experience of the year.
Good night, everybody!
If you thought of something like this, I don't blame you. The late 2000s were saturated with these weird pseudo-documentary concerts that felt cheaply put together and artistically uncreative, often featuring pointless 3D on the side to make some extra cash. It's a shame this is what a lot of general audiences associate the concert film genre with, as from a filmmaking perspective, it's one of the most underappreciated and its creative possibilities have been largely untapped. Concert films have actually been around for over 50 years, with the first film widely regarded to be Steve Binder's TAMI Show. The film was revolutionary in a number of ways, one being a key proponent of a technology called electronovision, which was basically a predecessor to HD television. Using a high-resolution videotape, the footage could be transferred to film by a kinescope, which could then be distributed in high quality to cinemas. The technology was limited, with videotape editing being an extremely difficult and strenuous process, making quick cuts near impossible. Its technical limitations, however, became stylistic staple points of the genre, including lengthy long shots, a consistently moving camera to keep pace, and a multicam setup over several nights to cover as much performance as possible. So what are some overlooked attributes of the concert film, and what makes it a unique kind of filmmaking? For starters, one thing I think a lot of concert films lose is an authorial vision, simply because a lot of filmmakers don't know how to put their own stamp on the genre. One of the few directors who managed to keep their style for a concert film is Martin Scorsese for films such as Shine a Light and The Last Waltz, which features his famous zippy and energetic camera work. While Scorsese's work in the genre is undeniably fantastic, some of the most interesting concert films have broken genre conventions through a creative vision and attempted new ideas, evoking new meaning from their songs with a combination of music and imagery. In Nimrod Antel's Metallica Through the Never, the concert is a backdrop to a fictional film, with the band supplying the music for the action. The combination of rebellious imagery and thrashing metal creates an adrenaline rush of a film, and really encapsulates what metal is about to Metallica. While a more typical concert film, Pink Floyd's Live in Pompeii subverts the need for featuring the audience by getting rid of them altogether. By playing in front of ruins at Pompeii instead of a stadium, it heightens the band's surreal sounds and creates a very intimate connection between the band and location. Intimacy in general is a very important part of concert films that is frequently missing from lots of productions. When you watch these Disney produced concerts, the one thing that sticks out is that the camera always feels distant from the band. I mean, unless someone wants to mud the camera, of course. But even then, there's little emotional involvement from the musicians, and in turn the whole performance feels superficial. When you look back on the best music films of the 70s, there's a lot of use of close-ups through a long lens, with the idea being it brings us closer to the performance than we would from in the audience, fully capturing the focus and emotion on the musician's face. Intimacy isn't limited to the performers, of course. LCD Sound System's Shut Up and Play the Hits, for example, is a recording of what was thought to be the band's final show, and creates intimacy by having the camera almost exclusively from behind the band and from within the audience. This positioning brings us closer to both the band and the audience, gaining us access into what both are experiencing while making us feel like we're witnessing a personal moment intended only for the two parties. Intimacy is also closely tied with another aspect that isn't fully utilised: emulation, or the feeling of actually being at a concert. One technique of achieving this, often seen within these films, is placing the camera amongst the audience, but these are mostly cutaways used for variety's sake. There is, however, one film that takes this idea to the extreme. Beastie Boys' Awesome I Fucking Shot That employs this by giving its audience 50 cameras and telling them to film everything, editing their shot footage into a crazy experiment of a movie. By far the closest you can get to a concert-going experience without being there, the use of hyperactive editing perfectly recreates the energy of being in a crowd of thousands, loving the same music you do. The live audience nearly always plays a big part in concert films, but what happens when your film largely ignores them? You get perhaps the best concert film ever made, Jonathan Demme's and Talking Heads' Stop Making Sense.
Hi, I got a tape I want to play.
Unlike most concert films, where the film is purely a documentation of performance, Stop Making Sense makes a conscious effort to artistically utilize formal elements such as cinematography, shot composition, and lighting. Talking Heads worked closely with Demme and cinematographer Jordan Cronenworth, blocking out camera movements on stage during certain songs, allowing the camera to capture angles and shots that would have been impossible at a distance. The concert's lighting was made specifically for the cameras in mind, so that what the camera filmed would look exactly like what live audience members saw on the night, increasing the film's immersion. Much like the TAMI Show, Demme opted for lengthy camera shots, believing that showing a great moment in one take was more powerful than cutting it multiple times, and that it also allowed for the performance to have a greater involvement with the audience. The performance slowly builds itself like a great film would too, starting small with one musician, adding another, and another, and so on until the band is fully assembled to rock out on stage. The result is a perfectly flowing and paced movie, with an extraordinary performance and extraordinary filmmaking. The sad fact is that most concert films forget what they are. They're films. There are hundreds of subpar concert films that don't make full use of their medium, and it's unfortunately those ones that are making the most profit. So the next time you sit down and watch one, take a moment to see if there's any artistry in the filmmaking on screen. And maybe someday, the genre will finally reach its full potential.